amazing summit. And our summit is about financial literacy and what that means to us, what that means to our community, how we can grow, how we can build on Juneteenth. Oddly enough, I didn't even know that it was that, because to me, every day is a celebration of Black people. So for me, it just kind of was happenstance, happened that way, but it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful to be having it on Juneteenth. I have some amazing guests with me today. Before I introduce you to these amazing women, I do want to give just a little bit of ground rules. Engage as much as possible in the chat. Any questions, any comments, anything you have for the women, please feel free to engage in the chat. And this is free form, so we're going to be able to engage with everyone. And then at some point we'll do a Q&A. I will be constantly in the chat, so whatever we need to let the women know, I can always express that to them. And then we will do the Q&A, and then you can ask them questions or anything that's on your mind about financial literacy, because it's a huge topic, and we're going to try to dig in as much as we can, and then just give you all of our point of views on what we feel as far as our community and what that means for us and moving forward to build us to where we need to be in our greatness. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first guest, Star B. Melancon, a financial strategist and founder of SHEbuildingHER. Star helps women manage and grow their money. She focuses on internally healing our relationship with money and strategically investing in the stock market for long-term wealth. Welcome, Star. Yay! Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. And then we have Miss Afra Smith. She is the founder and CEO of the Melanin Project. She is an entrepreneur, financial wellness coach, and creator of AODEC Financial Wellness Strategy, which she uses to teach behavior approaches to building wealth. The Melanin Project is on a mission to advocate, educate, and provide financial wellness coaching that empowers other Black and African women to start on a journey toward building generational wealth. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be here today.
So I want to just jump in. I want us to have fun. I want us to be enlightened. I want us to share. I think it's important when women see themselves in other women who are doing great things financially, and know that you don't need to have such a big background, because finance could be anything. When you're a little kid and your mom is like, oh, do that little dance for me, I give you $1, right? Finance starts from the beginning. When you lose your tooth and you put it under the pillow for the tooth fairy. So what is financial literacy? And either one of you both can answer, but what is financial literacy?
I guess I'll start. So for me, hi, I appreciate being here. Yeah, but for me, I think financial literacy is understanding concepts and understanding how to apply those concepts to real life situations. So at SHEbuildingHER, we work very hard to get past like the fluff and jargon and fancy language, because I feel like that's kind of like a barrier of entry for a lot of people when it comes to finances or investing, or, whatever part of the financial space they're trying to take up. It gets so convoluted with all these words, and to where people are just like, oh my God, okay, I just can't do it, And so once you get past that and you realize like the words and the jargon is not as important as understanding the concepts and how to apply them to real life situations. And so for me, that's what financial literacy is. It's just about understanding how money works, what's available to you, and how to apply it to your situation.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I would agree with everything that Star has mentioned. And before I get there, I actually just want to acknowledge the people that are here today. I show some love and gratitude for you all taking the time out of your day to actually get this knowledge from us. I also want to thank the Black Latina movement for having me here. But, I completely agree with what Star said about financial literacy and the skills around that. I think for our community, one of the things I always talk about is that common language is not always for us. And I think that we are the solutions to a lot of our economic issues and concerns. And so when I think about financial literacy, I think about it being the tool to actually get us out of our situation, right? Like you look at the skill set, but I also incorporate a lot of our behaviors. Sure, we've been in this generational cycle for over 400 years, but either we can continue to focus there or we can focus on the solutions. And oftentimes it's ourselves, it's our connection, it's our network, it's our ability to open up and talk about where we are and not feel so fearful and shameful to say, I need help. There are so many people out here that are willing to mentor and coach you and support you, such as Star and myself. There's just an array of resources, but what are we doing to really push that? Are we surrounding ourselves by the right people? Are we immersing ourselves in financial knowledge and getting what we need at the point that we need it? Meeting yourself where you are and being okay with where you are and recognizing that this is not an instant gratification process. It's a slow process. You want to get rich slow. You don't want to get rich fast, right? You learn things along the journey. And I came from the bottom. Like I had a 500+ credit score. I was on check systems. I couldn't get a bank account. Everything. I had payday loans up to Weezy. I had every single thing you can think of. And look at me now. So, I want to keep folks encouraged that financial literacy is where you are and studying and understanding where you are and understanding that it's never done. There's always somebody else that I'm looking to kind of model and study what they're doing that may be different from what I'm doing. So that's my definition of financial literacy.
No, it is true. And it's powerful. And when we think about financial literacy, we say it's important, right? And we know it's important, but I think the key is, why is it important? So, why do we feel like it's important for people of color, for Black people? Why is financial literacy so important for us?
So I'll start with a stat. By the year 2053, the median wealth of Black people is supposed to hit zero. For our Latino community, is 2073. So if that statistic doesn't scare people and alarm people, and we can go a little deeper with that and look at Black people in general, because if you look at the statistics of student loans, it's Black women. We're carrying the highest burden of student loans. And then if you compare that to wage inequality and wealth inequality, we're not making money. So we're going back, accumulating all this debt and not being able to pay it back. That's impactful, right? And you compare that to our white demographic, we are significantly behind. And again, yes, there are some systemic racist issues that impact our ability to do that. But I decided that I just didn't want to focus on that anymore. And so I think that looking at it from that perspective helps keep me grounded in what I need to do to move forward. And so things like real estate and investing and, making sure my portfolio is expanded. The other thing I want to add on here is many of us are sitting in roles that we hate. And I had no way out. So when I had a 500+ credit score, I had to sit there and take it. I'm working hard. I'm showing you all everything that I feel is of value to you, and you still will not promote me. And so I look at financial literacy as a tool to actually create the ability for me to walk away from things or invest in other things that may bring me more money, that allows me not to have to sit in these environments that are, not helpful, that are actually harmful to many of us.
Absolutely. Before I go into it, I will add a stat to that. It will take Black families, the average Black family will take 228 years to catch up with the average wealth of a white family. So 228 years, that's 3 generations if white people stay stagnant in their wealth, which they are not, right? It will take 228 years for the average Black family to catch up with the wealth of an average white family. So when you say the 2053, like, I know sometimes when you hear people in the finance space quoting stats, you're like, okay, but like, it is real. When she's saying 2053, there is expected to be to zero, like it is real. And you have to find a way to really let that resonate inside of you so you can understand what that means for you. But for me, why financial literacy is important, it's twofold, right? So on one hand, I'm a person, I come from corporate America. I was making a lot of money in corporate America, right? So my background is in, I am degreed as a biopharmaceutical microbiologist before transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship in the finance space. And I was making a lot of money, or I was making good money, is what we would call it, right? I did not realize until years into my role in corporate that while I, on paper, was kind of making the same money as the people around me, I was the only one making money. Meanwhile, all of my coworkers were building wealth. It was so humbling to find out that you feel as though you're an equal. I was already, of course, the only Black person in my department, right? But it is so humbling when you stop and you say, now all of these white people already feel like I'm not as good as them. I'm not as valuable as them. I'm not as XYZ as them, right? But then you have to look in the mirror and say, of course, that's not true, but you also have to look into the mirror and say, but you are a statistic. Like, you are a statistic. Like, you cannot push the blame on anybody else because now you're here, right? Mama, I made it. You're making the money and you still have the same broken habits. And so that was really hard for me. And it really played on my self-esteem and my self-worth, specifically in corporate America, in this very white environment. And it just kind of, it was a downward spiral for me, really kind of affecting everything. Like, did I feel worthy to sit in these spaces, to have these friends, to have these conversations? And so it just came like kind of like the scarlet letter on me, right? It was like this, like I felt like I was wearing the scarlet letter. So that was one part of it, just in terms of, hey, I didn't come this far just to come this far, right? I'm not going to sit back and be like, oh, well, this is the reason why, this is the reason why, this is the reason why I perform this way, or I make these bad decisions, or I have these circumstances. Like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm about to put on my big girl panties and I'm about to go at this with everything I have, and I'm gonna get my shit together, because at the end, that's what people see, right? People see facts and figures. That's how it is. So that was one thing that drove me. But the other thing is, I'm a mom, right? And so when I think about the statistics, when I think about how I felt in corporate America, when I think about like my circumstances, doing everything, like Afra said, doing everything wrong with my money, then moving into doing everything right with my money, and seeing how that the feeling of being financially secure and having a solid financial plan and being responsible, it internally lifted something in me. It gave me a peace that I did not expect, right? It made me see the world a different way. And because of that, it made me feel like, wow, my two Black sons are going to go into the world with options. They're going to go into the world with, a sense of freedom that I never had. They're going to go and they're going to be able to say, for me, my kids already have retirement accounts. My kids' retirement accounts are pretty heavily funded. That means when they come out of college debt-free, they can choose what job they want to take. If they want to pursue being an entrepreneur or whatever it is, they can do that, because they don't have to worry about getting into a job that has benefits, that has a retirement plan, so that they can plan for retirement, because mom did it for them at a very early age. I got your retirement set up so that you can go into the world and you can move in the world and live up to whatever expectation is that you have in you, without thinking about all the things that I had to think about growing up. So those are the kind of things in terms of why it's important. One, you cannot be a statistic. We already are branded certain ways. Like, you have to push past that. And B, you have to, like, everyone deserves to have that feeling of just abundance and freedom and stability and freedom and options and choices. I've been in very toxic roles in corporate with my management, and it felt good to be like, you know what? I'm leaving. You guys want me to be here for all of these hours. I'm asking you to, work with me on my schedule, my commute time. I'm leaving at 5 a.m. my house. I'm coming home at 9 p.m. I only see my son on the weekends. You guys don't care. I'm leaving. That felt very good. So that's that for me. It's just internally, like a sense of everything inside of me, is why financial literacy is important.
I have goosebumps.
You
Listening
had
to
all the
that.
women in like an uproar. Everyone's clapping. They're like,
Yes.
wow, it's so inspiring. Yes, like you really did. And that's really what it's about. I mean,
Yeah.
changing the way we were raised, changing the decisions our parents made, not to down our parents or to say they did horrible things, but when you don't understand financial literacy, you don't know how to break that.
Yeah, I think I definitely had chills when she was speaking, and I got a little teary eyed because it's nice to hear that. It's nice to hear that kind of story. It's nice to hear that. The other thing that I'm hearing is the modeling that her children are getting. They're watching. You may not think it, but they're watching. And I think about what we pass on for generations. And yes, we can't blame our parents because a lot of these foundations we should have probably gotten in middle school and high school. They don't teach these things. And so when you get out, you just do what you see. You don't know any better. Meanwhile, the person next to you is building wealth and they likely have their student loans paid off or and all these things that take place. But meanwhile, what she's doing is modeling for her children to see that this is the steps you should be taking. I always talk about the holidays and what we do every single holiday. That's sort of a cultural norm for United States, but also a cultural thing for I think our culture as well, in that we spend a lot of money during the holidays. We use our credit cards, we spend all our cash, and now you got all this debt. And you know you're not going to be able to pay it back. You know, like your children are watching. It's just another example of modeling. Is the idea of happiness and everything you're putting under the tree, or is it something else? And so those foundations, I think, are so important for our children. So shout out to Star. Thank you for sharing that.
Star, Melissa said that $100 bill in the back is motivating. Maybe she needs to get that as well.
Wait, that's why I have it there. Motivates me. But Afra, you are like inspiring so much inside of me right now. I want to give you another statistic because you just mentioned it. Because you know, financial literacy or financial, all the words that you want to use them, generational wealth, blah blah blah, all these words that people use. A part of that, right, is teaching your kids about money. And the statistic I want to give you is that families, let me just think about this because I've written it out, but families lose their wealth. Like I think Noah said, I think like 60% of families lose their wealth by the second generation and 90% lose it by the third generation. Could you imagine doing your part only for your kids to lose it? Like that modeling, it just was like, yes, something just went off my mind. Like, you're right. Because can you imagine, you doing all this and then they just, yeah.
I would be so disappointed in my kids.
Rolled over in the grave, like, really?
Yeah, so I guess to kind of segue in, what do you think are the basic or the first kind of steps to building that, or to having like I don't want to say the first rule, but what do you think is like the first step in building financial literacy and understanding this journey we're going to take?
I'll go first. I think for me, and I call myself a financial wellness coach because I look at this as a wellness issue. Because in my mind, for some of our community, if you would put your health, your transportation, your food, your housing at risk, that's a wellness issue. But I want to be careful and mindful to not insult those folks who are truly living in poverty, where some of these strategies may not work. They do need some additional help and support. But I'm speaking to those who knowingly know that they're making certain decisions that are going to likely someday lead them in poverty or in a really horrible situation. So for me, I had to understand myself. And that's what AODIC is, that behavioral strategy that I talk about. It's my journey. It's everything I went through. It's every roadblock, every person I faced, and everything that I learned, all the mistakes I made. So the A is acknowledge that you have an issue and ask for the help that you need. Yes, I faced a lot of institutional bias. I had days where I cried, where people were so cruel to me that I left crying, but I let that fuel me. And I remember every single person that treated me poorly. And part of why I'm doing this is because I never want another Black woman to go through what I've gone through. And the O is to own your behaviors. I tell my story, how I was in the club Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, brand new outfit, buying rounds, even when I was broke, using payday loans to finance the majority of that, right? And so I talk about that. I talk about develop selective hearing. Are you going to listen to the person that is broke to tell you to meet them in Mexico or to go out to eat? Are you going to listen to a star, an Afra, to tell you about the journey and how to get there? Are you going to immerse yourself in what you need to understand and connect yourself with the right people? So you got to develop selective hearing. And so I got a lot from my friends and family about what I should or shouldn't be doing along my financial journey. And the E is the education piece. You got to educate yourself, right? Like immerse yourself in knowledge. Connect with folks that are where you are or where you're trying to go in order to get yourself out. And then you got to celebrate yourself. So I always start with you. And I always feel like if you can master yourself, that's 80% of what you need to know. And the other 20% is the foundation. It's the putting the numbers in a spreadsheet. You can learn that, somebody can teach you those things, but it's hard to just get beyond your own behaviors. You got to unlearn the bad things that you've been doing for 20 plus years, right? So I say for me, that's the start. You got to start internally with yourself.
Say it again. I got it. AOS.
Oh, AODIC. AODEC. Acknowledge that you have a problem.
Own it.
Own your behaviors. D is for develop selective hearing.
Okay.
E is for educate yourself. And C is to celebrate you. And I teach this in a 45-minute course. I will not work with anybody until they have a foundation in there. I won't even touch your spreadsheet.
I send people your way. This is how I'm going to remember you. I was like, I got somebody for you. You just DM her this acronym and she'll know what it means.
No, and I love that too, because like you said, a lot of people, I think, social media and the glitz and the glamour, it kind of does make people think that you see these celebrities spending all this money. I want to spend this money too. I want to pop bottles and you're not on the level they're on. You're not.
Or they're broke. They're actually broke. We'll talk about that. I'll hold off on that.
Go ahead, Star.
That girl, that's a whole conversation in itself. But wait, I got so wrapped up in what she was saying. Ask the question again.
What do you think is the first step? Like maybe not the first rule, but like the first step of at least starting this journey of financial literacy for yourself.
Right. Okay. So from two parts, and they're going to actually be similar to what Afra said, but the first one is just like decide. The first one is to define, right? So define why you're even considering going down any type of financial journey or financial wellness path or whatever it is that you want to call building generational wealth. Like define what that is to you, because you don't know how many people come to me and say, oh, I want to build generational wealth. I'm like, all right, well, that's not a one size fit all kind of situation. What is generational wealth to you? No one ever has an answer for me as to what generational wealth is. So I'm like, okay, so are you trying to leave cash? Are you trying to leave a business? Are you trying to leave stocks? Are you trying to leave insurance? Are you trying to leave what are you trying to do? What do you mean? What do you mean by generational wealth, right? So in terms of financial literacy, if you want to become financially literate, you need to first define what that means to you, right? So, okay, when I say I want to become financial literate, or I want to go down a financial, down some kind of financial journey, I want to be more aware of this. I want to understand how to manage my money. I want to know how to get myself out of debt. I want to know what other people are doing to grow their money. I want to know how I can become this person who owns multiple, real estate ventures. I want to know, define it, right? Then you have to decide. Right. That's always the hardest part. That's really going to be where you see the haves and the have-nots, the decide portion, right? Because some people are going to decide to go full throttle. Some people are going to make up a whole bunch of reasons as to why they cannot do it right now, right? So you have to define it, decide that you want to do it. Once you decide that you want to do it, then you have to start doing the internal stuff, right? And that's when you talk about the healing your relationship with money. I always tell this story about when I was younger. I had an uncle who would always come by. He was my mom's brother. So he would come by and he would be the one. And we grew up like, I don't know if you guys ever seen the Bebe's Kids. Like, I feel like we grew up like the Bebe's Kids. It was like a gang of me and my cousins always just, I don't even know. So he would pull up, we would all run out the house and be ready to get $1, right? Because he was giving out $1. We knew that when he came around. So he would come, and this went on for years and years. And I remember I was about 8 years old, and he was like, what? I was like, can I have $1? Can I have some money? He was like, why? What you want some money for? And I'm like, I want to go buy a bag of chips or some ice cream or whatever. And he was like, see, that's your youngster's problem right there. Y'all don't have a relationship with y'all money. As soon as you get some money, you just want to spend it. You don't even have, I ain't even gave you no money, and you already thinking of ways in which you can spend it. Right? Like you need to have a relationship with your money. You need to let your money sit in your pocket. You guys need to be on one accord. You need to walk with your money. You need to talk to your money. And he was saying all this. And of course, at like 8, 9, 10 years old, I'm sitting there like, bruh, am I getting $1 to go get the chips or am I not? Like, what's happening here? But as I grew older, I was like, okay, I get it. Because one thing that women do that I notice is they'll be like, they'll say, Star, I really need a call with you. I'm like, okay, why? Because I have this settlement money coming in, and I need to make sure I know exactly what to do with it. Before it comes, because I don't want to mess up and not pay the stuff I need to pay. I'm like, sis, listen, totally respect you want to be responsible with your money, but how about you let the money hit your account first? How about you just stop and see how you feel with having money in your account that doesn't have a designated place to be, right? Because what happens is, if we're so used to spending all of our money, being responsible, putting it out, like it has to be out of our hands for it to not be wasted, that means that you don't feel that you're worthy of ever having disposable money that's just sitting. And if you don't feel that you're worth it, if you don't feel like you're worthy of it, you won't. There will always be somewhere that your money needs to go if that's the case, right? And so when I talk about building a relationship and healing a relationship with your money, like you need to say, okay, let me see how I feel. Does it give me anxiety to have a lot of money? Do I always feel like I'm going to do the wrong thing if I have money? Do I have money and then spend down to a limit that to a balance that I'm comfortable with, because because my mind hasn't caught up with the idea of me having abundance, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, it's like, you know, I always think back, like, okay, what was my first introduction to money? Was it a positive or a negative introduction? You know what I mean? Like, when did I develop my money language? Am I dealing with traumas that I don't know about? I have a client right now that I've been working with her for at least a year. And she has the hardest time saving money because she grew up in like a family, and it was like 8 siblings. And every time she had money, if she ever told anybody, she would be forced to like share with her siblings or help with this or help with that. So she never saves money because she's like, shit, every time I save money, I got to give it away. So I'm going to do what I want with it. And this trauma has led her to, being in a particular situation in her life. So I would say just take a moment, write down, what is my first time, when was the first time I realized money was something more than just, something you use on a Monopoly board, that I realized that money had value. You know what I mean? What was that? And then leading from that, if I have traumas and embarrassing moments of, I took out payday loans, or I did this, did that, defaulted, got evicted, all this stuff that you live in with all the symptoms of this trauma that you went through, write all those things down on a paper, fold them up, and burn that shit. It has no space inside of you. Release that. That is not serving you, right? So define it, decide you want to do it, think back and understand, what is my relationship with money, so you can try to heal that relationship with money before you move forward to any kind of, I want to be financially free, financially stable, financially whatever. Do that part, do the healing part first, and then everything else will kind of fall in line, because there's a ton of resources available for you when you're ready to take the leap and learn, how money works and things like that.
I love some of the language because I feel like language is so important and words have so much meaning, like as a writer. And so for me, when you think about money, you think of this tangible thing, and we don't really realize the emotion behind money. So Afra, you talk about using the word wellness with money.
Yes.
Star, you talk about using the word healing with money. These are not words that are synonymous with money. We oftentimes, when you think of wellness and you think about healing, you think about your body, emotion, you think about those things, the non-tangible things. Money is a tangible thing. And so we keep them separate, not really realizing they're one in the same, like you said, because you think about health and wellness and your physical wellness, but financial wellness and financial healing is a huge thing that I don't think in our community specifically, we really understand that. You know, when you see rappers and artists spending money, it really is because they grew up broke. So now it's like, I need people to see I got it. You know, it's this idea of needing to prove things to the world that, you know, I had 10 siblings and I didn't have anything. And now, mama, we made it. So we gonna spend it. And there's this, it's almost like being sick, and almost being diseased, right? When you think about wellness and healing, because we don't have that. And so when you don't have something and you finally get it, you know, we hear about these, you know, ball players who get all this money and then they go broke so fast because they're still healing from not being well, you know. And how do you get better? How do you get well? So I love the language. I love that language of using that when it comes to money. Melissa says she has goosebumps in hearing what you're saying. And Rosa said, I hear that, burn and release it to heal. I love that. Yeah.
And I said, make sure you open the door or the window. Don't be burning up stuff and you got the stuff closed in. And it's, you know, juju just sitting all in there with you. So just make sure you do that one part. It's critical.
What do you think when people go on these journeys, what do you think is like the biggest mistake they make? Because sometimes, you know, I know this, when I want to lose a couple of pounds, I go to the gym, I go so hard, I eat lettuce every day. I'm like, and that's a big mistake, right? When you want to lose weight and you want to get well, you have to take baby steps, and you have to, and that's the same approach with money, right? So what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes when people first take their journey, or you've seen with your clients people make?
I'm going to say for me, it's discipline. And the reason why I say that is because when you're on the journey, you're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to have some kinks. So when you hit that roadblock, are you going to give up? If somebody says something to you that it's not soothing, are you going to give up? Because other people don't believe in you, are you going to give up? So you got to stay disciplined. And I offer free consults. And not a lot of people take advantage of that. You can have unlimited consults. I will answer any question you have. And there's a reason why I did that. And I got pushback from some of my mentors about providing free service. But the reason why I do this, number one, I know it's needed. And number two, not a lot of people take advantage of it. And so I feel like that discipline is very critical. And if you can stay disciplined, then there comes consistency in continuing to do something over and over and over and over and over and over again. It becomes a habit. And then there's this idea of making sacrifices. Sometimes that means letting go of certain people in your life or certain things in your life. I think when I was taking this journey, I wanted to take everybody with me. I wanted my friends to come with me. I wanted my family to come with me. And nobody heard me, you know, because all they saw was that I was broke and I had bad credit. So they were like very dismissive, you know, like, girl, whatever, we ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. But now that I'm here, guess who's following me? All of my friends and family are on the journey to financial wellness right now because they see me. Now they believe in me. They can see the results. But sometimes when you're going through a journey, you have to be disciplined and stay on your path. Like Star said earlier, like you got to have that goal, that vision, your why, because that's going to keep you going. You know, that's going to keep you immersed. So I think discipline for me is really big. You know, don't give up. There's going to be days where you're going to be tired. You're going to like keep looking at your debt. I didn't stare at my debt along the journey. I stopped doing that. It wasn't healthy. I celebrated when I paid off one credit card or I paid off a payday loan. You know, I stay focused on, okay, I'm going to pay this next debt off. This is my next goal, to pay this next debt off, and I'm drowning out everything else. So that's mine. Be disciplined, stay consistent, and be willing to make the necessary sacrifices.
Yeah, that's great. I think, yeah, I just like 100% like, yes, I agree. I think for me, it would be twofold. On one hand, it would be exactly what Afra is saying in terms of like determining, like, I feel like determine your internal why very early on, because like she said, it's it's not easy, right? If it were easy, everybody would be wealthy, right? And we understand that that's not the case. So it's not easy, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. But really, really determining like that internal why. It can't be like, oh, because I want to travel to Morocco with my girls. Like that's not a why, right? Because that can come sooner than you think. You really have to really, really stop and say, why am I doing this? Because that's the only thing that's going to keep you moving forward. Like that's going to keep your momentum. Falling off the wheel is like the number one hurdle in financial journeys, period. Just being super motivated and then not, and then super motivated and then not, right? So that's like number one. But then I think the other thing for me that I really try to stress is unrealistic systems. I guess, Crystal, I'll go back to what you were saying in terms of like losing weight. I always give this example. If I live in Texas and I'm a cowboy and I eat steak for dinner every single night, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to lose some weight. And then my nutritionist says, cool, we're going to go ahead and put you on a completely vegan meal plan. Okay, yeah. So the first day or two, three, maybe I'll stay on your vegan plan because I really want to lose weight. But after that, it's a wrap. Like I'm telling you, I've been eating steak every day for 20 years. And now you want me to eat vegan whatever, it's not going to happen, So when people try to structure their budgets really strict, like I should only be spending 10% on this and 30% on this because that's what the financial books say, and I can only have this and this. BS. I call BS. Okay. Your budget is your budget. It needs to align with your natural personality, your natural spending habits. You need to make sure you have safeguards in place for, hey, you know what? I know that when my husband pisses me off, I like to go on Amazon and buy stuff to reorganize my house. It's my thing. So I'm going to have a little bucket on there about, you know what? This is my emotional Amazon shopping bucket, because I need it. It is what it is, like you have to make sure that when you're creating your budget, nothing in finance is a one size fit all. I know it seems like that, which is why women have such trouble with finances because they think there's no gray space. Society has set it up to where it's black and it's white. You're good at it, you're not. You do it like this or you don't do it at all. That's not the case. There is plenty of gray area in there. Everything should align with who you naturally are, who you truly are, right? You are running a household, you are running a family, you are running a relationship, you are working, you are running a side business, all of these things. If you can trust yourself to do all of those things, you can trust yourself to create a budget. You can trust yourself to buy a stock on the stock market. You can trust yourself. You are guiding little human beings into being productive adults, and you think that you can't pick a stock on the stock market? Like, you good. You got more experience in, like you give yourself credit for. So I think it's really just make sure your systems are aligned with who you are. Don't try to create this budget or this debt repayment plan that's super aggressive and you biting off more than you can chew, because again, you'll just fall off the wagon, and then internally you'll be really sad about it, feel like you can't do it, you'll be down on yourself. It'll take you another 6 months to even look at the budget again because you feel disappointed in yourself, and then the whole cycle will start over again, right? Make sure it's realistic, it aligns with you and who you are, and you'll be okay.
Lin Su said, don't compare yourself to everyone else's journey.
That's so true. You know, and I think what Star's getting to is you can get the foundations, but you're really the expert in how to work and move your money. You know, what worked for me ain't gonna work for somebody else. I'm frugal as all get out right now. All my friends laugh at me, you know, but I have this thing that I say to myself, if I can't buy 5 of them, then don't buy it. Now I can buy 5 of that, so it doesn't work anymore. But you know, I love shoes, so I have to be mindful that I don't really need 5 of those pairs of shoes. But yeah, you're the expert in how to work and move your money. You know, it's a lifestyle, not a skill. So you're learning a new lifestyle and how to approach life differently, and what triggers you. You know, if you're having that bad day, like she said, and what are you going to do with your money? For me, I was hitting the club. That was my thing. You know, I enjoyed hanging out with my friends and spending all my money there. And you just learn new habits along the way. So I totally agree with that.
We might have touched on this already, but like, what do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to finance and financial freedom or literacy?
I think it would be like kind of what we were just discussing in terms of there's a right way and a wrong way. You know, there's no gray area. Only the financial advisors know how to manage finances, you know, just little things like all of the things that society has built us up to think, you know, men are better with money than women are. Not true. Not true. You know, just all these like things that that are like they're what is it called what is it called that when it's like being subconsciously fed to you without
Brainwashed?
well, I guess you, I guess you could call it brainwash, but I can't remember what it's called, but it's like being subconsciously fed to you through the images that you're consuming through advertising and marketing and media and things like that. But what the world is telling us basically is, hey, normal people don't deserve to have massive wealth, and normal people cannot control, like cannot manage their money in a way that's going to be healthy and successful to them. Like only, you know, certain people deserve this. Like only certain, it's kind of like when somebody says to me, like in this, I get into arguments on LinkedIn all the time. I'm not going to lie. People say, you should be debt free before you start investing in the stock market. No, you know, and I can give you 10 reasons why I don't agree with that. But because they've laid out this, oh, this is the interest rate of that, and this is the percent returns of the market, and this is how it looks, and this is how it should look. It's like, so I know people right now who are willing to die with student loans that will work. Like they are ready to defer them, get a government job to hopefully pay them off in 20 years. They will die with student loans right now. So are you telling me that person is not worthy of investing in the stock market because they have not paid off their debt? You know, it's just like those kind of misconceptions. Just like people always want to say like, oh, well, you know, a person shouldn't be doing that. Okay, but they are. So now what? So now because this person is making a move that's outside of what you feel is deemed worthy, then we shouldn't teach them how to progress. We shouldn't give them different tools based off their circumstances. So it's just like that whole black and white thing. I just can't get with.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I would say for me, and I want to touch on a few pointers Star had too. It's services aren't made for us. And so therefore people give you advice based
Please
on,
say that again. Say that one more time.
It's like, you know, people give you advice based on this person over here who doesn't look like you. They weren't raised like you. They don't come from your community. Maybe they don't have a massive amount of student loan debt. So I would agree. Why are you going to tell me not to invest because I have X, right? And I've read all the books. I've read the Dave Ramsey's, the David Bach, the Susie Orman. I read all that. That's why I encourage everyone to read, because there's a lot of strategies within the book that are great, but then there are also some strategies that I wouldn't recommend for others. Dave Ramsey tells you don't invest into a house until you're completely out of debt. Seriously? Like, do you know how much student loan debt I have, Dave Ramsey? That will not work for me. But that is the avenue by which I am using to build a lot of wealth. So I'm not going to wait until I'm completely out of debt when I can have, you know, monthly cash flow coming from investment properties to help actually pay down that stuff. So it's like immersing yourself in knowledge. And for me, I seek out Black and brown people to financially educate me. Yes, I have some mentors around me that are not all Black and brown, but I'm getting advice from people who I know are where I want to be. So if I'm looking to do some investment, I'll probably reach out to Star now. Hey, I got this big pot of money. Can you tell me what I need to do with it? Because I know that I don't have to explain certain things. And this is how I started my financial journey. I had went in a whole bunch of banks and these so-called organizations that were supposed to help me, and they had no idea. And I met an amazing Black queen who sat down. I didn't have to say certain things to her, and she showed me the foundations of how to budget. And I stayed with her for 3 months, and I went to her and I left. You know, I said, hey, I'm leaving, not because you did anything wrong, but I need to know if I can do this on my own, right? I got the foundations, and from there, I started just to read. It became such a fascination for me. And so I think that there's a lot of things that are told to us and sold to us that are not for us. So I just will say that's probably, I don't know if that's necessarily a myth, but there's just some things out there that are just not specifically to get us out of our situations, which is why we have so many people that are unbanked now. Half of Black households are unbanked now. So, we need services that are going to support and meet us where we are.
Absolutely. I'm going to open up the floor now to our guests to ask or converse with our panelists. Anything you want to present to the ladies, anything that you, anything you want to share, you can do so now. You can put it in the chat, or if you want me to unmute you, or I think you can unmute yourself. Let me know, and you can ask these lovely ladies anything. Let's see.
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. So one of the things I talk about a lot in my personal life and professional life is the idea that kids at 18 are out, right? And that particularly comes from, our backgrounds, our cultures, our communities, and trying to reframe that idea that at 18 you're supposed to be prepared to take care of yourself and leave your parents' house, but we're not given the tools to be financially literate, to take care of ourselves, or to earn the kind of money, and the idea that we're working but we're not building wealth. So if you guys could, I guess, talk a little bit about that, because that's definitely an interesting topic.
I would say that if I had to do life all over again, and this is just me, I'm not advocating for anyone not to go to college. I just want to put that out there, because my first degree was actually on a scholarship, so the second one was not. I would live at home longer, and I would go into real estate right away. I would work a job for 2 years, save up all my money, live at home with my mom, and I would invest in real estate, and I would start my path out there. I think we do tend to think that folks are grown mentally at 18, and they're not. I mean, there's a lot of things that we all know that happen between the ages of 18 and you're 24. You're still maturing. There's still a lot that you don't know about the world. You think you know everything, but you don't. And so I would say allow kids to pay rent. They pay rent, put it up in an account for them. Start saving if they're not fiscally responsible, and surprise them. Hey, now this is the money I've been saving for you. Here's your down payment for a house. So I think a part of that is starting to share the mistakes that we made so that they don't make those mistakes. But I would let my kids live at home. I don't have any kids, so I'm preaching to the choir on that, and I don't have any children, but I would definitely probably do things a lot differently if I had to start my journey all over again.
So the question was, repeat the question for me?
Oh, I was just, it wasn't, I guess, really a question, more of like a statement that we could talk about. Just the idea that kids at 18 who come from Black and brown homes are supposed to be prepared to take care of themselves and are supposed to leave home. Is, my mom said it, 18, can't wait till you get out of my house. And it's like, I wasn't ready at 18, but living at home wasn't, and I didn't leave at 18 exactly, but living at home, it wasn't free. I wasn't allowed to just go to college or just work and figure out what I wanted to do. I was expected to come home with part of them bills or half the bills, or like Star said, her client who had the trauma of anytime she made money, she had to spend it all because she couldn't save it because she had to give it to somebody. That hit home right away for me. I was like, my first job was McDonald's. If I made $100, my mom wanted 50 towards the house. And so what I learned was tell her I only made 75. So she would only take half of 75 rather than half of 100. And then I taught my siblings that, but we couldn't save the money because if she found the money saved, it was like we were hiding, so I didn't learn about saving money and, the idea of keeping something for a rainy day till long after I was gone and struggled because of things like that.
I want to just first acknowledge, I hope you know that you are further in the norm than the outlier. Like, I know a lot of times because we as Black and brown women, we don't get into these safe spaces to be able to express even like, vulnerable past experiences. But I want you to know that in my experience, I hope you know that you are within the norm of us in terms of.
I understand that, but I think it's something that should be talked about a lot.
No, 100%. I'm just talking about in terms of having to say, hey, I didn't make as much, or having to spend some of your money before you came home. You have no idea how many stories how many women I speak with who have similar situations. So just in case you were thinking like that was only in your household, that was like in most people's households.
Yeah, for sure.
But in terms of the kids, what's interesting, leaving at 18. So for me, I am forcing my kids to go to college. I won't lie to you. Like, I am forcing them, and I'm forcing them to go to an HBCU. So that's kind of just is what it is in my household. And not because I think that they're going to get, like I told you, my degree is in biology with a concentration in microbiology. And here I am in the finance space after I got, $100,000 in student loans. So it's not because I think they're going to go and have this amazing epiphany and get the career out of it. But college taught me so much more than the books, right? It taught me how to overcome adversity, specifically at HBCU, how to really just really create a path for yourself and how to network and how to do different things. So I'm making my kids go to college, but I would say that I don't think it's healthy that people have this mindset of, hey, I'm going to put my kids out at 18, unless they've already from a very young age with their children put their kids on a path to success, meaning I talk to my kids about money. They understand how it works. They understand the tools available to them. I already have them an investment account. I already have them a retirement account. Unless they understand the fundamentals, and by the time they're 18, they're like, hell yeah, I've been waiting to turn 18 because now I can do, now I can make this even more risky investment, now that I'm 18, because I couldn't do it, when I was under a custodial account, or, unless at 18, they're super stoked because they have so much information and now their creativity is flowing in terms of money and finance and how to structure their life. Like, if they're at that point at 18, then yeah, like, great, send them out. But if your kid is barely swimming above water and you didn't do anything to help them along the journey to be prepared to leave the house at 18, it's like, why? No. I'm not an advocate of just, oh, you're 18, so you need to go. No, absolutely not. I'm an advocate of like, hey, mom started you off on a healthy financial journey when you were like 5, 10 years old, whatever. And now at 18, here's what you have. I've taught you how to manage it. Now let's see how you can thrive and flourish and allow your creativity to come and grow what you already have.
I think a lot of that comes from like healing and the trauma, right? That our families had. So our families had a lot of people to take care of, grandmothers and grandfathers and aunts and uncles and multiple siblings in the household, that you almost became a burden to them, right? So when you were 18 and you were able to get a job and make your own money, it was like, well, that's one less thing I got to worry about. You're 18. And I think it's like what Afra was saying about modeling, right? This is what they knew. It kind of takes something off their plate. So it's like, All right, and they might have saw their mom did it and their grandmother, and so on and so forth. I think that that's one of the best things about learning this, and you women empowering us as Black women, the difference of that, because now we know, okay, I need to be well and healthy before I can even really think about having children, or if I already have children, try to reverse, right? Because we can't think about the past. It happened. But now taking the steps so that I can make my finances a little bit more freer and easier. So when my son wants to stay, it's not a burden or a hassle to me. It's not like I just really need him to go because I can't afford this food, or I can't afford this, or I can't afford that. And I think what you ladies are doing is obviously getting people into that mindset, because it is a very like old school approach to say, when the kids is over, we got to get them out because it's a hassle still for us. Rosa wrote in the group, in the chat, my question is for both Star and Afra, with the recent boom in cryptocurrency and the headlines that are out now with regards to FIDA currency and the demise of the US dollar, where would you suggest starting if interested in participating in this new wave? And what do you think will change, if anything, when it comes to financial literacy now?
So I want to be careful on this one, because I don't really give a lot of investment related advice. Usually my buck kind of stops at that point, but I personally do have a little bit of crypto. Again, I like the diversification of having my money in different places, but I'm gonna divert to Star on this one.
Okay, so let's first say that this is not an advisement. This is general information. Okay. Cryptocurrency, this is how I try to break down cryptocurrency to my community. Cryptocurrency is, right, the inception of a new form of currency. So she was talking about, I'm assuming she was talking about fiat money, which is FIAT, right? So fiat money is basically, so you have like fiat money, and then you have like basically commodities, So fiat money means the money does not have any real intrinsic value except the value that we place on it. So like the US dollar would be fiat money because it's only valuable because we say it's valuable, right? Versus a commodity, which is like, hey, if the world was experiencing famine and I had $10 million sitting in my living room, but I had a cow in my backyard, my neighbors would break down my door, move past that $5 million and go get the cow. That is considered a commodity. So when you think about precious metals, when you think about bandwidth, when you think about wheats, when you think about what else? Those are called commodities, meaning they hold value in themselves, whether we want to acknowledge they have value or not. Okay, so that's the difference. When it comes to cryptocurrency, this is like the inception of a new form of currency. And so I try to take it back, right? In the beginning, not the very beginning, but let's say the beginning, when we had gold, a lot of people and a lot of families are very, 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 very wealthy right now because of gold. Okay, because at the inception of us deciding that we were going to use this precious metal as currency, they were able to rack it up, right? Stockpile it basically, and then say, hey, we have this thing, let's start using it to trade for goods, right? Actually, before that, let's think about bartering. First, we had bartering. We would just trade goods and services. Then we had a currency, which was like precious metals, really silver first, then gold. But either way it goes, you have families who, if you think about, anyway, you have families who are very wealthy from that, because at the beginning, at the inception of this, this transition into a new currency, they took full advantage, right? So then you have, then people were like, you know what, it's too much holding all of this gold in my house and traveling, and because then we get robbed, and then once the gold is gone, it's gone. So now they came up with banking, right? So now you can put all your gold in a bank and they'll give you these big certificates and you can sign it over to people, blah, blah, blah. And so then you think of people like like the Rothschilds and people who got really wealthy at the inception of banking, right? So the point is that you see these people taking full advantage at the inception, at the inception point of a transition from currency to currency. This is the first time, the only time in our lifetime and our children and grandchildren's lifetime that we will be able to take advantage of the transition to a new currency, okay? Now, with that being said, when we talk about cryptocurrencies, there are stable cryptocurrencies and there are unstable cryptocurrency, right? Because it's decentralized, meaning there's nobody really regulating it. There's no government entity regulating it. You see all these new coins, dog coin to the moon, Shiba, this, that, right? These are unstable currencies. These are unstable cryptocurrencies, right? But then you see Ethereum, you see Bitcoin, you see what's ADA, you see all these other ones that are more stable than these little flash coins that are good for a quick buck. So when I think about, do I want to be invested in cryptocurrency? Hell yeah. I am invested in cryptocurrency, but I'm not a trader. Like, I'm not a stock trader. I'm an investor. I'm not a person who's looking to make a quick buck. I'm looking for a situation where I can put my money and allow it to do its thing and then turn into wealth, right? So I would say if you want to invest in cryptocurrency, which this is not an advisement, but I think you should, you need to go with the stable cryptocurrencies. There's at least 15 to 20 very stable cryptocurrencies that you can get in. Now, because it's new, it's going to go like this for many years. This is not something that you're going to get into and it's just going to, it's not that. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to up and down. You just got to ride the wave. Just put your money there. Don't put money that you need to pay your light bill with. Don't put some money, if you have some disposable cash, put a little bit in there at a time. And just let it sit and let it ride let it ride the wave, okay? And so what was her other part? Is the $5 are we suggest starting to interested in participating in a new
Oh,
way?
and what do you think will change, if anything, when it comes to financial literacy now?
Oh, I think a lot, like even in terms of like saving money, even right now, in terms of saving money, most people will not tell you put money into a savings account. Because people have kind of caught on to the fact, like, why should I? Like, seriously, why should I? Like she said, the dollar is becoming unstable. There's no real benefit. They're not paying you to have your money there. You're losing basically because the rate of inflation is higher than anything that they're paying you for having your money there. So like a lot is going to change. People are going to get savvier when it comes to money. People are looking to take advantage of resources that was not otherwise available to us for the last 100 years, So a lot is going to change. And that's just one example. Right now, savings accounts are at an all-time low. The only thing you should be keeping inside of a savings account is an emergency fund. You know what I mean? Outside of an emergency fund, why? Why should I be putting money into a savings account? When my mom was coming up, that is what they were taught. You need a savings account. You know what I mean? So that has already changed. There will be a lot that's going to change moving forward, but don't think everything is a scam, but pay close attention at the same time, which is why financial literacy is so important. You have an opportunity, right, to learn about these things. Read up on cryptocurrency, go on Google, just read, try to consume some information so you can get a fundamental understanding of what it is so that you can decide if you want to invest in it. But again, even if you don't have time to go on Google, even if you don't read anything, go buy some goddamn cryptocurrency. Go buy some stable cryptocurrency, even if it's a little bit. Just go buy some cryptocurrency when you get a chance.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Anyone else? So while we wait for, no? Okay. So while we wait and we let that marinate, I do want to ask both you beautiful ladies, what are some best practices that all of us can take away from today's summit that you would have us, even if we know the little thing counts, right? So like when you're trying to get physically fit, 20 minutes a day is just as good as 3 hours on the treadmill in one shot, right? So little bits here and there. So what do you think is some small best practices that we could take away from today?
I would say for me, just, number one, be patient with yourself. It's a journey. It's not a race. Don't don't want things overnight. Figure out how to be happy where you are. Like, be grateful that you are immersing yourself in learning, you're moving in the right direction. Because if you're only focused on what you're doing wrong, that's all it's going to come your way. You know. So just be patient with yourself. Expect that you're going to make mistakes along the journey, but know that you can recover from it. And don't be afraid to start. Sometimes we sit in what I call the plane pattern, where you got to wait before you land. You just kind of turning. That's our anxiety, that imposter syndrome, feeling like we don't belong or it's not going to work out. I got too much debt. Like, just start somewhere. You got to start. And that takes a lot of courage, because you got to be open and willing to put your stuff out. But just know there's people out there that have been where you are. You're not going to be judged for trying to better yourself. And if you are, don't go back there. Those folks shouldn't be in financial services if that's how they're going to treat you to begin with. And so I think for me, that's why I'll share with you all. Just be patient with yourself. Take that step, and remember that through contrast is where you'll have your greatest accomplishment. Sometimes we get these negative experiences in our life, and this contrast comes, and it does a few things for us. We either get really handicapped, or we try to fight through it. And so I encourage you to know that your transformation will come on the other side of that contrast you're experiencing in your life, or that negative experience that you're having, whether you're going through a divorce, or you just lost a job, whatever it may be. There's something good that's going to come from that, and everything happens for a reason. So just be grateful for where you are. Surround yourself with positivity. Keep some positive affirmations in your head. Whatever you need to do to heal yourself, meditation. I meditate consistently. And surround yourself with great people. Ask yourself who you're surrounded by right now, and are those people going to be the folks that are going to help you move forward? I'm not saying get rid of everybody in your life, but I'm just saying, like, surround yourself with some go-getters. I'm bonded with Star now. I already got in my head now what I'm gonna reach out to her for. Like, I'm bonded. Like, she dropped some gems, some knowledge on me. I know I have some clients that could take advantage of that. And so I'm looking forward to that. I now have another financial connection in a Black woman. I'm going to keep in touch with Crystal. Like, I know about the Black Latina movement now, and this is amazing. And so I'm so grateful to have been here to share this space with you all, and to also learn more about the Black Latina movement, and also STAR's organization as well. So thank you all.
I think I would probably just echo what Afra said in terms of just start. Like, literally just start. And then I would probably add, stop giving yourself so many passes and hold yourself accountable. Like, it's some people, like, I come across people and I'm like, girl, I just want to because I'm like, girl, listen, let me just get my notepad out right now, since we go ahead and we just gonna list all these excuses out. Let me just write them down as you said them, because at this point, I just don't even know where we're gonna stop with these excuses. I need you to hold yourself accountable, okay? And stop giving yourself so many passes, because guess what? We all have, like Afra said, we all have what'd you say, roadblocks and bumps and things that's gonna happen, and we're not feeling motivated. I don't feel like it today, and I'm sad because of this, or I have too much debt, or all these things. Guess what? We're all experiencing them. You need to start. You need to hold yourself accountable, and you need to stop giving yourself so many passes. Like, that is just it. Because if you don't, right? If you don't, it's not just about you, right? It's not just about you. We're most of us is, well, Afra looks, I'm not gonna ask, but a lot of us are mid 30s and beyond. Okay, so a lot of us are mid 30s and beyond, and so it's like one of those things. Like, you making a decision to not pursue this financial wellness doesn't just affect you, because what's going to happen is you're going to leave, and your kids are going to be in that same position, and your grandchildren are going to be in that same position, and their children are going to be in the same position. You know what I mean? That's what you have to think about. It's not like you have to get out your own head and stop thinking about me and my little box and say, you know what? I would feel like crap, if I got older and I realized that my grandkids are suffering. Like if I ever see my grandkids suffering in the same way that I did because of finances, I would feel really bad about that, because I knew that I had an opportunity to stop that. You know, those are the kind of, when we say connect to your why, those are kind of whys that you have to keep in there and bring out in those moments of uncertainty. You know, you can't just continue to be like, my situation right now is this, that, and the third. No. What about tomorrow? What about 10 years from now? What about 20 years from now? What about the trajectory of your bloodline? That's what we're talking about here, right? It's not just, it's not a, what did you say earlier? It's not a race. It's
not a journey, it's a race. I mean, it's
yeah,
not sorry, Lord Jesus. I'm thinking of my own stuff. It's not something that's going to come overnight, right? Like it's going to take you a while. It's a journey. It's not something that you're going to just speed right through. And that is not a wealth building mentality. So you got to slow yourself down. And like you said earlier, let the money sit in the bank account for a while and just look at it and be like, oh my God, look at all the money I got, you know? So yeah, it's definitely a race.
That's right. And go ahead. Go, Sandra. I can see your face that you about to add something. It looks like it's gonna be good too. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say thank you to both Afra and to you, Star, for dropping these amazing gems of wisdom that we all need to hear. And I'll share a little bit about myself, but I want to start with Crystal. You talk about losing weight. I went to a conference, and one of the best things I heard about that, she said, stop saying you want to lose weight, because when you lose something, you want to find it. Ooh. And so she says, when losing something, she said, if you lose your keys, you need to find it. You lose something, you can't find your phone, you want to find it. So say you want to donate your weight to someone who needs it more than you.
Yes.
So I just had to share that. And I wanted to share my own journey as I've had the worst love-hate relationship with money. And it's interesting, and have been working on it. And so constantly working on it, always need the help and striving there. The 2008 crash, I lost everything in that crash. I was a nonprofit director. I had a house. I had a career. I was a part of the junior league. I had everything. And when I had nothing, and the embarrassment of losing money and telling my family was worse than anything else. In fact, I had family members say, I thought you were going to tell me you were pregnant. This is horrible. And you would have thought I had done drugs, which I've never done, or was an alcoholic, but losing money. And it really put me on a long journey. And I have to tell you, sometimes in Afra, I love parts of your story, and just when you hit whatever the rock bottom is and you regrow, I became a coach and author. I did all kinds of things that I would never have done, but it's also learning about my relationship with money. And I realized growing up, like, I never knew how to deal with money. And I think talking about it and how we talk about it. My parents, I would get money for holidays and it would go into a bank account and I never saw it. But when I went off to college, they're like, here's this money. So I was like, I just have money, but nobody explained about it. My uncle, who was from Costa Rica, who only had, I don't know if he had an 8th grade education, if that. He was a taxi driver. He and Tia, my aunt, who was a hairstylist in Boston, left money for all of us and was able to leave that. And I felt bad that I had squandered it away through the crash. And so one of the things that I loved when you all were talking about our owning it, and I've learned to own it. Like, I own the crap that I have and say that. And it's funny when Star talked about when you have money in the account now, I do sometimes go, well, I should spend it in case I lose it again. And you made me think, oh my gosh, I got to go back and have a new conversation. And so I want to thank you for that. And just, Afra, the AODEC. Oh, come on, girlfriend. I loved it all. And so the one last thing I'll say is what I'm learning for myself is that I'm learning to have to forgive myself and just start where I am and not be caught up. And I love, the one good thing, and I'll shut up, that my parents did do that I loved was we were never allowed to say, I want something because somebody else had it. So if I said, I want those jeans because Crystal has that pair, I was guaranteed I'd never get it. So I would just have to say, I want those jeans because I think they'd look nice on me. But I could never say it's because Crystal had it. Because my mom always had this phrase, it's like you're too red eye. You'll bleed for it, so you won't be red eye, and if it's something. So I think that's the one saving grace to this. But I just want to say thank you, sisters. I love you. And I want to follow you all on LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff.
I said yes. So glad to hear you were able to recover. Forgiveness is so important and worthy. Melissa said, wow, I love that. Thank you, ladies. So many gems. It was amazing. I loved even the language, like I said, just because as a writer, words are so important. And to hear, even for myself, like my takeaway, wellness and modeling and healing, those are the three for me. Those are the three takeaways, because I don't think, even myself, I didn't even think about it in that sense. And that I do have two little boys who are watching how I model my money, and how I need to heal from my past money and then be well in where I'm at. So I think it's so important that that we have that, and that you ladies speak this and help us speak that into existence, because when you say it, it becomes real, right? Any closing giveaways you wanna give us? Any gems before we close out for the day?
I like to close with a to-do. If you are sitting here and you're not where you need to be, and you're like feeling all over the place, don't focus on the end game. Focus on the few steps that you can take today. What few steps you can take tomorrow. Set your intention for the day related to your money and watch what happens. If it's this big house that you want a year from now, go and tour the house. They let anybody tour houses. Go and visualize and put yourself in it, but don't immerse yourself in where you're not. And so take steps every single day and surround yourself with the people you need to be around. You got to consistently have it flowing in. You got to change your energy. What you give energy to grows. If you're only giving energy to the negativity around you and what you don't have, you're going to stay in the same situation that you're in. But if you give energy to where you want to be by doing your little task that you have to do every single day, and sometimes we make ourselves feel like we have to do 20 things in order to feel accomplished. That's not true. It's the little things that you do every single day that'll get you to where you need to be. Successful people will work at their craft every single day. That's the discipline part of it. Please reach out if you all need any support. I do free consultations. They're confidential. I'm happy to talk with anybody about their personal financial situation and make some recommendations to you. I would love for you all to follow me on social media as well. And I look forward to staying closely connected with Crystal and the Black Latina Summit. So thank you all for your time today.
Absolutely. So as we were just sitting here speaking, I was thinking about a workbook that I have. It's called Preparing for Prosperity. It's a free workbook, but it sends you through a few journaling exercises as it pertains to your relationship with money. And it also sends you through an exercise when you go and, acknowledge where you are currently with your finances. So you have to go and say, hey, how much money do I have here? How much money do I have in insurance? Do I have insurance? Do I have life insurance? Do I have this? Do I have that? And so it sends you through these it sends you through a few different exercises, because I think one area that we sometimes fall short is, like Afra was saying, we consume ourselves where we want to be before we even acknowledge the foundation or the fundamental stuff, and that is where we currently are, right? So what are you building on? So I have a workbook called Preparing for Prosperity, and so that will hit your inbox soon. I'm going to reach out to Crystal and I'll get your information, and I'm going to just go ahead and send that out to you, so that at the very least, you can just take a moment, like take some me time, and really just do like a self-evaluation. And of course, if you have any questions, you can just reply to my email and we can chat, and we can, and just see, just chat, very open and honest and candid, as you could probably see now that I am, just to kind of get us, get our minds kind of thinking about, hey, what do I want next? How can I set a goal? What does it look like to set a financial goal, right? Because a financial goal is not, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, I want to be out of debt. No, a financial goal is, hey, I want to pay this $2,416 credit card off by December 2nd, 2021. That's a financial goal. So let's just go ahead and get our minds pumping in that direction. So you'll be hearing from me. And Crystal, I appreciate you. This was amazing. You told me beforehand. She speaks very highly of the women who are in her organization, and so I truly appreciate spending time and sharing space with you all. Afra, you are amazing. I just completely love fundamentally everything that you stand for. So we will definitely stay connected. And again, thank you for having me today, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, so put your I see Afra put all her information in the chat. So I think you did start the same. And as always, the Black Latina movement is always about the movement of our people and what that means and how important that is to us. So connecting with two amazingly incredible, beautiful women of color who are doing the work and who are helping. And it's amazing when you connect with people who have been there already, right? Because sometimes it's hard to connect with someone who is saying certain things and they haven't experienced the bad side of things. So knowing that you guys are doing the work and you've been there kind of gives the rest of us a little bit more hope to say, okay, well, she knows what it is to go through what I went through. It helps to know that you're on our level and you've been in our shoes. And it's just amazing the work that you do. I'm so incredibly grateful to have connected with both you ladies and for you to even have been a part of the summits. We've been doing the summits for a whole year now as kind of like a transition of not being able to be in a theater and do our plays and our films and stuff. And so you just affirmed to me that this is a space that I will continue to work on for our women, because we need this space and this conversations of all the things that matter to us. So everyone follow them on social media. This will be on our IGTV page very soon, and you can share it and get the word out on the amazing work that Afra does, the amazing work that Star does, and let's continue to keep this conversation going.
Take care, everybody.
Have a great afternoon, guys. Bye.